Alright guys, MTech Guy here, and today we're going to take a look at changing out the transfer case fluid on the BMW E53 X5. Now these E53 X5s came with two different types of transfer cases throughout their life. The early models had the traditional transfer case BMW had been using for quite some time, with a fixed split drive of 38% of the drive going to the front wheels and 62% going to the rear. From 2004 onwards, the X5 had X-Drive, which utilised a control module and an actuator to manage the power split and the traction. Now when it comes to changing out the transfer case fluid, the considerations you need to be making based on which transfer case you have are: if you have the early type transfer case, the fluid is DEXTRON III automatic transmission fluid. If you have the later style transfer case, you need to use BMW's specific transfer case fluid, and the adaptions will need to be reset on the control module, either by using a BMW dedicated scan tool or getting a BMW specialist garage or main dealer to do it for you if you do have that later style transfer case. Now with my X5 having the early type transfer case, that's what we'll be focusing on today. Alright, let's take a look at what we're going to need to get the job done. Okay, so of course we're going to need some fresh fluid. Now like I say, with mine having the early type transfer case, I'll be using ATF DEXTRON III. If yours does have the later style transfer case, 2004 onwards, you are going to need to use that dedicated BMW fluid, or there are a couple of other alternatives. I think Febi and Shell make an alternative also that you can use, but what I'll do is I'll leave a part number in the description below for that later style fluid. Now the capacity for these transfer cases in the E53 is around about 0.8 of a litre, so you want to be buying yourself at least a litre of fluid to get it in there. And then the other thing you're going to need is a couple of sealing washers for your drain plug and your fill plug, and I'll leave a part number in the description below for these also. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so to start off with, what I've done is just driven the X5 up on 4 blocks of wood there, just to give myself a little bit of extra height there to creep underneath the vehicle there. And that's the beauty of working on these X5s. Most of the time you don't need to mess around dragging your axle stands and jacks out to get it up in the air, so that should give us just enough room to complete what we need to do today. Okay, so if we take a closer look underneath the X5 here. Right, this is the transfer case right there, and you can see we've got our drive shaft connecting the front differential to the transfer case. Now, that's the drain plug right there. These take a 16mm socket or spanner. And if we take a look around the other side here, that's the fill plug right there. So we're going to make sure that we can slacken this off first before we go draining the fluid out of the transfer case, just to make sure we're not going to run into any issues getting a new fluid back in there. Alright, so we've got the old oil drained out now, we've got our drain plug and our fill plug removed, so before we go any further, I'm going to refit the new copper sealing washers. And then what we'll do next is refit the drain plug, and then we're ready to stick the new fluid back in the transfer case. Now you don't need to go crazy when you're tightening this up, just enough to crush that copper washer to create a good seal. And there we go. Right, so next up comes the fun part. We've got to get the new oil squeezed into the transfer case. Now I like to use this Castrol ATF because the bottle comes with a bit of a spout you can pull out, so that makes it a lot easier to get it into the transfer case. You can just stick the spout in, give the bottle a good squeeze, easy as that. Now if you haven't got a bottle of Dextron 3 with this kind of spout setup, what you can use is one of them hand pumps that you can screw on top of the bottle. I've used them in previous videos on my gearbox oil change videos. I'll leave a link at the top of the screen here to one of them just to give you an idea. But yep, I like using these ones. And to gain the correct oil level, what I'm going to do is keep squeezing this new oil into the filler hole there until we see a trickle of oil coming out the bottom of the fill hole, because the bottom of the fill hole is your level indicator. So once it's trickling out the hole, we know it's correct, and then we'll get the fill plug back in there and tightened up. All right, let's roll back under the car and get this in the transfer case. Alright guys, so there we have it. That's how you go about changing out the transfer case fluid on your BMW E53 X5. Now if you found the video interesting or useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW DIY videos. Consider subscribing if that's your cup of tea. Alright, I'm MTech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.